Welcome to the Mop-Up for November 4th, 2022. I'm David Feldman coming to you from an air shaft overlooking a parking garage somewhere in Manhattan where the temperature is 57 degrees and cloudy. Can't do interviews. Cannot do it. Zoom says it's Fios's fault. Fios says it's Apple's fault. And Apple says it's my fault. So going to be spending the weekend on the phone trying to solve this problem. Have to do my interviews over the phone. Do me a favor. I'm in a bad mood. Do me a favor. Please subscribe to this podcast and hit the like button. Cheer me up, please. Cheer me up. Projection. What is projection? It is a psychological condition when a person projects their own mental illness or fear or feelings onto others. We see this in the Republican Party all the time now. But in the GOP, it's not really an illness, at least not for the people doing the projecting. It's their formula. It's calculated. Do something detestable, be somebody horrible, and then project your venality onto Democrats. They know exactly what they're doing, and it works. It works by tricking their ill-informed supporters into thinking Democrats are the real bad people, and it's maddening for us Democrats. It makes us sputter and shake and say, no, that's you. You're that. You're the liar. You're the criminal. You're the cheat. You're that not me. You're that. It's gaslighting. It's how they own the libs. They delight in this, and I still fall prey to it. It's so calculated. The Republicans know exactly what they're doing, and the people in charge of the Republican Party are laughing all the way, either to the bank or to Congress. The way it works is, what is our weakness? What are we guilty of? Okay, now project our guilt, our weakness onto the opponent. The GOP, for example, is weak on crime. Crime and murder is higher in red states than it is in blue states. So accuse the Democrats of being weak on crime. Projection. The Republicans hate poor people. They create poor people. So accuse the Democrats of being elitists who are out of touch with ordinary folk. Projection. Most importantly, Republicans hate America. They hate everything about America, especially the people who live here. So slap an American flag on your lapel and accuse Democrats of being unpatriotic. Projection. It's really unfair because the Republicans don't believe in government. They believe in making it smaller. They have no policy other than destroying government. So they come to Washington, and their job is to lie about government and to lie about Democrats. And that's much easier than actually governing. That's why, when given the chance, Republicans do not keep us safe because they don't govern. COVID in America under Trump was worse per capita than in any other Western country. The worst per capita and in the number of people who died from it overall. Because Republicans can't govern. They can't govern because they hate the government. The Republican president, before Donald Trump, ignored intelligence reports, so the Twin Towers came down. He ignored weather reports, so New Orleans was destroyed by Katrina. He ignored Wall Street, so capitalism was destroyed. And of course, he ignored intelligence, the intelligence that told him Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction. He ignored that intelligence, made up his own intelligence, and invaded Iraq anyway. Republicans can't govern because they hate government. What they do is they mock Democrats for caring. They consider it a weakness to actually care about other people and governing, which is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is becoming a force to be reckoned with in the GOP. She has been kicked off every committee. She's been stripped of all her committee assignments. She has nothing to do in Congress. So she runs around America. She's Donald Trump's official opening act. She makes speeches. She mocks the Democrats. And now, here's what's happened. She has built political capital. She hasn't passed or introduced a single bill, but she's a celebrity now. And if the Republicans get the House, she is going to be a power broker, having accomplished nothing other than being mean. That's all she's accomplished. Now, she's a joke, the same way Trump was a joke. Hey, I'm old enough to remember when my father told me Ronald Reagan was a joke. These are all stupid, lazy grifters, but they have learned to project their faults onto the Democrats. This is different. What they're doing now is different from what Karl Rove taught Republicans to do back in 2004 when they swift-boated Senator John Kerry, who was running in 2004 for president against George W. Bush, another person who I thought was a joke. Now, Karl Rove taught the GOP to ask, what is your opponent's strength? And then attack the strength. Turn their strength into a weakness. George W. Bush was AWOL during the Vietnam War. His father got him into what they call the Champagne Unit of the Texas Air National Guard. That's where the sons of rich kids served out the Vietnam War in Texas, flying planes. But George W. Bush couldn't even do that. He went missing, and he was listed as AWOL. Meanwhile, his opponent, John Kerry, was an almost Kennedy-esque decorated Vietnam veteran who had no problem making hay out of George W. Bush being AWOL. And this really upset Karl Rove. This is John Kerry accepting the Democratic nomination in 2004, knowing that his opponent, President George W. Bush, was AWOL during the Vietnam War.
I'm John Kerry, and I'm reporting for duty.
It was tough. It was below the belt. And we were in the middle of the Iraq War, which was not going well because it had been engineered by two draft dodgers, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, who were running for re-election. And then Karl Rove proceeded to make mincemeat out of John Kerry's war record. Rove took Kerry's strength and he made it a weakness. By the time Rove was through with Kerry, the draft dodger, George W. Bush, was the war hero, and the war hero, John Kerry, was the coward. John Kerry commanded a swift boat in Vietnam. If you've ever seen Apocalypse Now, when Martin Sheen goes upriver to kill Marlon Brando, he's in basically a swift boat. Kerry was injured in Vietnam, I think twice, and I think he received 2 Purple Hearts, which, when he came home from Vietnam to protest the war, he took those Purple Hearts and threw them over the fence at the Pentagon. He was the perfect candidate in 2004. The war in Iraq was going poorly. We had a war hero, John Kerry, who wanted peace. Hard to beat someone like that. So what did Karl Rove do? Well, he set up a political action committee. It was led by Vietnam vets who hated John Kerry, and they made unsubstantiated claims about his war record. They challenged, of all things, his 2 Purple Hearts. They said he faked his injuries. They also challenged his Bronze Star. There was absolutely no proof that Kerry faked his injuries, but that didn't matter. By Election Day, enough Americans were misled into believing he wasn't really a war hero, and so they voted for the draft dodger, who not only lied about Vietnam, he lied about Iraq. And now the Republicans are doing something else. They take their own weakness and project it onto the other side. This is different from what Karl Rove taught the Republicans. Rove said, find your opponent's weakness and find your opponent's strength and then attack it. The new Republicans project. They discover their own inadequacies and then project them on to the Democrats. In Arizona, despite what Republicans insist, there is no such thing as voter fraud, but there is voter suppression. There are oath keepers right now and followers of QAnon, heavily armed, standing near voter drop boxes in Arizona and photographing people, harassing people who are just trying to vote. They're photographing license plates, asking questions. That is voter suppression. It's against the law. Couple this with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis locking up people released from prison who were told that they could vote. So they voted, and then they get arrested for voter fraud. Now, all those cases in Florida are being dismissed, but it chills the vote. It scares people who might have a criminal record, who might have run afoul with the law, people who are innocent but have been hassled by the police. It chills the vote. They tend to stay home on Election Day if there's even a chance they can get arrested, either in Florida or hassled by Oath Keepers or heavily armed QAnon supporters in Arizona. It's voter suppression. It's real. It's against the law. Voter fraud, however, is not a real thing. It is a lie that is repeated over and over, but it doesn't exist. But that doesn't stop Republicans from repeating the lie that there is voter fraud. There is no such thing as voter fraud. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich is the Republican Attorney General in Arizona. He was on 60 Minutes Sunday night, and he said, he was pretty honest. He said he voted for Donald Trump twice. He said he wanted to find evidence of voter fraud, and he tried really hard because he wanted Donald Trump to be reelected. Back in June of this year, he found evidence. He finally found evidence of one dead voter who voted in 2020. But the vote was never counted. They have ways to prevent dead people from voting. So a dead person somehow cast a ballot, but they double-checked and it wasn't counted. And it wasn't fraud. There was no fraud. But this attorney general, this Republican attorney general, kept the investigation going because he was running for Senate in Arizona this year, and he wanted Trump's endorsement. But Trump accused him of not finding any fraud, so Trump decided not to endorse Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich for Senate. Instead, he endorsed this guy, Blake Masters, who ends up getting the nomination to run against Arizona Democrat Mark Kelly. So now Brnovich, now he's left in the cold, right? He served Donald Trump. He kept the story going that there was voter fraud, even though he couldn't find any. But now that he's been screwed by Donald Trump, he goes on 60 Minutes last Sunday and says there's no such thing as fraud in Arizona. There's no such thing as voter fraud in Arizona. Why? He was asked by Scott Pelley, because there isn't any. He was willing to keep the idea of voter fraud alive just long enough to get Donald Trump's endorsement so he could run for Senate. But when that evaporated, suddenly he had a come to Jesus moment and came clean and said voter fraud is a fraud. It doesn't exist. But that's what the Republicans do. They cast doubt on the electoral system when it benefits them. When it no longer benefits them, you go on 60 Minutes and try to clean up your reputation. That's voter fraud. Doesn't exist. Voter suppression is real. Voters are being intimidated in Arizona right now by Oath Keepers, by QAnon followers with sidearms. They're standing outside drop boxes. This is what the Republicans are doing. This is what Steve Bannon is encouraging people to do in Arizona. It is voter suppression done by the Republicans with sidearms, with AR-15s. So the Republicans are guilty of voter suppression. Project. Brnovich, the Attorney General, term limited, out of office. He can't run for Attorney General again. The Republican running for his job for State Attorney General of Arizona is Abe Hamida. And he sees no voter suppression in the Republican Party. Here he is projecting.
Remember back during the Obama years, and you had the Black Panthers literally standing outside polling locations, threatening people. So that's where it's, interesting how the media doesn't highlight that.
The media doesn't highlight that. Projection. And lying. The new Black Panthers, okay, it's a lie. This is a story that allows the Republicans to project their crimes onto Democrats. But it's a lie. It's projection and it's lying. They're accusing the Democrats of what they're doing, right? The Republicans are accusing the Democrats, or the new Black Panthers, of doing what Republicans are doing right now in Arizona. Back in 2008, this is, the media doesn't report. They report the claims of the new Black Panthers suppressing the vote, but they never tell you what it actually is, what the story is. In 2008, which I think was 14 years ago, a grand total of two members of the new Black Panther Party stood in front of a Philadelphia polling precinct on Election Day in 2008. One of them was brandishing a billy club and may or may not have been yelling at some white people as they went in to vote in Philadelphia. Nobody called the cops. It was theatrics. Nobody stayed away from the polls. The police saw it, and you can't stand too close to a polling precinct, so they sent one of the Panthers home, and that was it. That was it. No vote was suppressed. It was a billy club, not a sidearm, not an AR-15 like they have in Arizona. This wasn't organized by the Democratic Party the way the Republicans are organizing the voter suppression in Arizona, right? So this was 2008. Two members of the new Black Panther Party, one with a billy club, standing in front of a polling precinct for what, maybe 45 minutes? The new Obama Justice Department in 2009 had to spend years investigating these two Black Panthers, right? Because the right-wing propaganda machine wouldn't let it go, because it was an opportunity to project onto the Democrats the things that Republicans are guilty of, which is voter suppression. They found two members of the new Black Panther Party in 2008 who for 45 minutes stood outside a polling precinct, and this was, the Justice Department had to spend thousands of hours looking into this. Meanwhile, the Republican court at the time is overturning the Civil Rights Acts of 64 and 65, protecting the rights of people of color to vote, right? The Supreme Court is doing monumental, the Roberts Court is doing monumental voter suppression But all you hear about on AM Talk Radio and Fox News are the new Black Panthers threatening white people who were trying to vote. One was carrying a billy club. But the Obama Justice Department had to waste precious resources into examining this nonsense. Two members of the new Black Panther Party standing in front of a Philadelphia polling precinct in 2008. And this is what they still keep bringing up. This is what...
Remember back during the Obama years, and you had the Black Panthers literally standing outside polling locations, threatening people. So that's where it's, interesting how the media doesn't highlight that.
Because it's not a story. That's Aim Hamida, who is running to be the Republican Attorney General of Arizona. Republicans take that story, and for the past 14 years, we keep hearing about these non-existent members of the new Black Panther Party standing outside polling precincts around America, intimidating voters. It's not true. It's true in Arizona, but they're not members of the new Black Panthers. They're Republican operatives carrying sidearms, and nobody's getting arrested. And it's projection. What are you guilty of? Accuse the other side. Accuse the other side. It is dangerous out there. Nancy Pelosi's husband got hit over the head with a hammer, and the right is lying about it, and they're stoking hatred. And one of the chief culprits in all this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not smart. She's a dangerous idiot. But she is smart enough to deploy projection, calculated projection.
Joe Biden basically said in his speech that we're the enemies of the state, and he's calling us extremists. And so that's a dog whistle for violence against MAGA Republicans, and it is a continued dog whistle of violence against me.
She's the one who's being threatened. She's the one. It's calculated. It's projection. Here is Charlie Kirk. He runs Turning Points. Now, we know the Republicans don't accept election results. We know they stormed the Capitol because they didn't accept the election results. We know that Donald Trump is planning to use Pennsylvania, the Dr. Oz campaign, the election, as a dress rehearsal for 2024. They're going to challenge and claim voter fraud in Pennsylvania because Republicans do not accept the results. A vast majority of Republicans say the election was stolen. They don't accept the results. We know they stormed the Capitol because of that. We know they're already saying the midterms are going to be stolen. It's a grift. It is a grift. Some of the Republicans use this grift to get elected to office. And then there's Charlie Kirk, who runs Turning Points. And he uses this grift the same way Alex Jones does, to scare people into buying literally what you're selling. Watch Charlie Kirk's grift this morning. It's projection. Say it's the Democrats who are the merchants of chaos. It's the Democrats who won't accept election results and then sell something. Here is Charlie Kirk on his nationally syndicated radio show, lying and projecting.
Look, we are living in chaos right now. I think it's fair to say. And hopefully Tuesday fixes that. But look, I'm telling you, if Republicans win, how are Democrats going to react? I don't know. We got to make sure you're prepared. You got to make sure you're prepared for bedlam. Make sure you're prepared for whatever might happen. And that is preparewithkirk.com. And you'll save $250 off a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest preparedness company. Do you have a stockpile of emergency food if the unthinkable happens? If not, now is the time to get emergency food for you and your family. Look, you got to check it out at preparewithkirk.com. That's preparewithkirk.com. Lowest price in 3 years.
That's the grift, right? Convince your idiot listeners that it's the Democrats, project onto the Democrats the refusal to accept election results, claim it's the Democrats who are going to, what? Storm the Capitol? Watch this again. This is Charlie Kirk.
Look, we are living in chaos right now. I think it's fair to say. And hopefully Tuesday fixes that. But look, I'm telling you, if Republicans win, how are Democrats going to react? I don't know. We got to make sure you're prepared. You got to make sure you're prepared for bedlam. Make sure you're prepared for whatever might happen. And that is preparewithkirk.com. And you'll save $250 off a 3-month emergency food kit. Do you have a stockpile of emergency food? If the unthinkable happens, if not, now is the time to get emergency food for you and your family. Look, you got to check it out at preparewithkirk.com. That's preparewithkirk.com. Lowest price in 3 years.
It is a grift. It is absolutely shameless. Well, it has been less than a week since Speaker Pelosi's husband was attacked with a hammer by an intruder, and he's home today. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene today, out on the stump, working voters in Iowa. Watch, like the Charlie Kirk thing, like that Charlie Kirk thing. You can't believe what you just saw. Did you ever think you would live long enough to hear a victim of a hammer attack to the skull get booed? This is Marjorie Taylor Greene getting her crowd in Iowa to boo Paul Pelosi.
The only crime victim you hear about from Democrats in the media is Paul Pelosi. Paul Pelosi was brutally attacked by a drugged out illegal alien that should have been deported. And Paul Pelosi should have been a gun owner and shot his attacker.
That is not a joke. That is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not a joke. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a joke. She's clickbait, but so is Donald Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an idiot. So was Reagan. So was George W. Bush. So was Donald Trump. Nicholas Klein was a union organizer who said during a clothing workers convention back in 1918, this is what he said in a speech. He said, quote, "First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, and then they attack you and want to burn you, and then they build monuments to you." Now that quote has been attributed to Gandhi. He never said it. He's been falsely attributed with saying something a little bit better, though, but he never said it. And I like this better than the original quote from Nicholas Klein. Gandhi did not say, but he's been quoted as saying, quote, "First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win." He never said that, but it's a great line. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Trust me on this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an amoeba-brained buffoon. We ignored her, then we laughed at her, but by the time we're really ready to take her seriously enough to fight her, she's too strong and she wins. Do not underestimate this amoeba brain. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the future of the GOP. She is a major force that has to be reckoned with. I laughed at Reagan. I laughed at George W. Bush. I laughed at Trump. I'm not laughing anymore. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene today in Iowa.
Under Republicans, not another penny will go to Ukraine. Our country comes first.
Our country comes first, as long as you're white, Christian, and bigoted.
I'm on my way to be a billionaire. Now you can make fun of me, but I don't really care. I have a plan to get there by and by, as long as I stay healthy and I never die. $15 an hour, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, and 32,000 years. I know it's a long time, honey, to 34,020. But when I get there, babe, I'm gonna be in the money. I'm on my way to be a billionaire. Now you can make fun of me, but I don't really care. I have a plan to get there by and by, as long as I stay healthy and I never die. All I really need is a second job or a third. Lift myself up my boots and join that elite herd of the 600 billionaires in the USA, who make more in a second than I do in a day. I'm on my way, yes I am. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Oh, yes I am. I'm on my way to be a billionaire. Now you can make fun of me, but I don't really care. I have a plan to get there, yes I do, by and by, as long as I stay healthy and I never die. As long as I stay healthy and I never die. As long as I stay healthy